We're backstage with Jeff Green, who's a very funny man. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, yes. I've just done my show, personal, to the good people of Derby, and I'm now resting in my world-class backstage facilities, just one seat with a lid.
I think they call this star dressing room number 1, don't they?
They do. I don't know which stars they're thinking of, but people, the stars of Ground Force, maybe, or Living TV. Yes.
Now, I've never seen you live before, but I've seen you on TV many times, and you really impressed me tonight because you take risks, you talk to the audience and see what comes back, and then you feed off it. That's always a risk. It must be easier just to write an act and deliver it and do it and then clear off.
It is, but and to be honest, I can do that as well. But I enjoy ad-libbing. Audiences really like you to ad-lib, and they really like to see if you're funny over and above the jokes that you've prepared earlier. So, my girlfriend says, Jeff, when you ad-lib more, we love it when you ad-lib. And so, in particularly this tour, I've been making myself go out there and ask questions. And as you say, you don't know what you're going to get back. You might get nothing back and you have this stilted silence, or you might have some rich comic vein. Like I had a divorce lawyer in tonight, which was a lot of fun.
I mean, it's a big tour you're doing. I was sat there thinking what kind of life it is for you. I mean, you come into a different town every night and you have to sit and wait for the show, and then after the show you've got to drive home. Is it any fun?
No. When you put it like that, you're showing me the tragedy that is my life and career. Well, you know, the bits that you say aren't that haven't got a lot of laughs in them. You know, they're waiting around, but anyway, everybody has to wait around. But you know, you have 2 hours on stage of pure adrenaline, and hopefully trying to get it right, and hopefully getting it right and getting appreciation and getting clapped on and clapped off rather than booed on and booed off, which can also happen. So it's got its the plus side has more ticks in it than the negatives.
Is it still possible to be booed off at your stage? Because, I mean, you're really well known now and people tend to love you who come to see you. I mean, is it easier being you now than it was 20 years ago?
Well, you know, you've got some more stage skills. Audiences do, but what they give you in recognition, they take in expectation. So they want you to be, they know you and they want you to be great. And, you know, if you're not great, in the old days, I could get away with being good, right, or average. And now I can't get away with being good or average. I've got to be great. So, you know, and that's been the same since Shakespeare, or since Chaucer.
Talking of Chaucer, I mean, you're one of the world's greatest writers. You've had 3 books out now and you've got a brand new one and you're writing all this stuff. Is there a difference between writing comedy and performing comedy?
Yes, there is. Well, writing comedy, I like writing comedy, writing book comedy to work on the page, because it gives me, because I'm a perfectionist and I like things to work and stuff, and I can tinker and tweak and then present. On stage very often, you know, you'll see I'll come up with an idea and I'll punt it out and it isn't quite there, but then also I get the opportunity to craft something. So you've got, on stage work, you've got an opportunity to keep redoing it and redoing it, but on writing on the page, you get an opportunity to just tinker until you're really pleased with it. So they're both equally challenging and equally rewarding.
Why is it?
Sounds like a cop-out, which it is. I love gigging. Gigging's best.
Why is it that you write the books and other comedians don't? I mean, is it a completely different skill?
Money. It's lucrative. I don't know. Well, my books are an extension of my act anyway, because the reason my books came about, I've written two books before this one, which is the A to Z of living together, and the A to Z of being single, and the third one's the A to Z of having a baby. And the A to Z of living together came about because I wanted my agent said, write a book, everyone's writing books. And I went, the only thing I could do is put my act into alphabetical order. He went, go do that then. So I did, and I went, I think I'll call it the A to Z of living together. I had lots of jokes that I really enjoy telling about girlfriends, relationships, you know, how to live with somebody, and as it turned out, it was a smash hit.
I asked the same question to Peter Kay, but it really does work still with you. How do you see the funny side of life when other people don't?
Who's Peter Kay?
Is he still going? Is he?
Well, that's what marks you out as a comic. That's what marks you out for somebody that wants to make people laugh. Basically, you're looking for laughs because you need laughs. you know, comedy doesn't come from a good place. Comedy comes from a dark place. Comedians are needy, right? Which is great on stage, but not necessarily great in a relationship or anything like that. We need people to laugh at us, and we, you know, it's very often there's an itch that needs scratching psychologically. But having said that, you know, the consequence or the end product of that is we get, you know, great people like Peter Kay, great performances, great jokes, Spike Milligan, Billy Connolly, you know, the list goes on, Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, all these damaged people who make us all laugh, and we appreciate them.
Are you annoying to live with? Because presumably if anything happens in your day, whether it be working day or living day, you write it down for material. I'm a challenge. If you're a comedian, all comedians are a challenge to live with, because we're on the road a lot, and you know, and as you say, if you do something funny, it's in the show. And although I always look at it like this, I always ask my girlfriend if she minds me saying it, and then also I see it as a sort of, you know, like. Say James Blunt or I don't know, Paul McCartney would write a song for their lover, and it would be a nice thing to do. Well, I write a routine about vaginal flatulence for my lover, and I'm hoping she's touched by the gesture. There's some great moments tonight where the audience were kind of turning, and the funny thing was, the cruder you went, the more they laughed, which was interesting because they seemed quite timid in the beginning, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the dynamic of an evening. That's how you have to keep you keep prodding and testing, and you know, as a comic, it looks like you're just trotting it out, but you're not. There's a feedback loop going on. I'm listening to what they're doing. I'm working out what makes them laugh. I'm working out what they need to be, need to be cajoled. They might need the pace picking up. They might need to be talked to slower. They might need to me to just talk to them and not attempt to tell them jokes. And all this, you know, all this is going on, and hopefully at the end of it, I've got them to a point where they've really enjoyed themselves, whether they wanted to or not.
Who would have thought you're coming across far more intelligent than you seem on stage?
Well, I've never wanted to be highbrow. That to me, it would be dull. I don't like being preached at or talked at by comedians. But then equally, I pay due respect to my audience. I tell them stuff. I assume they're going to get it, and I assume that. Whereas I assume they're adult enough to be able to deal with what I'm telling them. But I might soften it a little bit depending on what kind of audience I've got.
I don't know whether you take this as a compliment, but I saw Jim Davison a few weeks ago who was doing similar content to you about some of the more private, intimate areas of a lady's anatomy. And it was just down market, and it was crude, and it was vulgar. There wasn't that atmosphere tonight, and that's really clever that you managed to bring a show out that wasn't sleazy or down market. It was really clever, but actually you were talking about stuff that was just as vulgar.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Well, you know, I love filthy comedy. I love filth. I love Richard Pryor. I mean, if we were talking my heroes, Richard Pryor, Billy Connolly, they're both filthy, you know, but do it in a really lovely, enlightening, truthful way. And sometimes when you can, I'm not saying I'm achieving this, but sometimes great comedy can achieve things, you know, truths, and liberate you and go, oh, I'm not the only one that has that problem, or I'm not the only person. And it's quite nice to just be released from that almost by like a cathartic shared experience. Again, it's not really, it might be up its own arse, but I'm not really trying to achieve that, but I'm aware that, you know, I have to share an experience rather than assault people with filth.
I also thought you were quite a clever wordsmith. It's in the same kind of vein of Jasper Carrott that you tell stories in a really funny way. And sometimes you can tell a story in a very funny way, and sometimes you can tell it in an average way, and you kind of pull certain words out, which is really clever.
Well, thank you. Again, that's probably just comedy, you know, and trying to get it right. And also, you know, the more you gig, the more because my comedy comes from three places. You can write it down, you know, a blank page, table, and write jokes. And I do that sometimes when I have to think, oh, I want to talk about this, so I'll write stuff down. The other thing is I can think about something; it'll occur to me as I'm walking down the street. And then the third element is that when I'm on stage, as I'm saying it, I come up with new words and ways of saying it, and then you put the three of them together and you have an act, and that's really how my routines come about. And so new words, interesting words to me. I tried a few interesting, in my opinion, words tonight, which got a mixed reaction. Minge being one of them, as a sort of, but it was, and they did. People of Derby didn't go for it, and I tried it several times and I got nothing all the way through. But anyway, so you're always trying to find words that provide new colour and are exciting for me to say 42 times on tour.
Well, congratulations with the tour and congratulations with the new book. It's really funny, and it's so nice to sit down and read something that isn't trying to be, as you put it, up its own arse and so clever. It just is a great fun read, and you draw from real life, which is the most important thing. We can all relate to it, and I think relatability is the main key to comedy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. As you know, I think if only 2 people are laughing, I failed big time. I won't be booked back. That's close to being booed off.
Well, let's hope you're booked back here next time. It's a lovely MFI, isn't it?
Yes, it'll be nice when it's finished, Derby.
Jeff Green, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you.
That's great. Cheers. Thank you, mate.